Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, the channel for film reviews, discussions, and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined with Tayten the Hour, and George Aldridge is back for this one, and today we're going to be discussing the latest Star Wars The Force Awakens official trailer, which was released earlier this morning. It's a little weird considering we've already had two trailers, but especially the one for trailer 2, and that's not counted as an official one, but this is our final one we're getting before the film hits on December 17th for us in the UK and in the 18th for the US and the rest of the world. So we're basically just going to go through the entire trailer, break it down. We're all huge Star Wars fans, and this has definitely given us a lot to speculate and talk about. So so do you guys want to kick it off for our first shot, and we'll just sort of work our way through it?
Well, our first shot is it's completely black, can't see anything, and then suddenly you just get kind of like a face shot of Daisy Ridley wearing this kind of, I don't know, like climbing, spelunking gear. She's fully covered up, but you can kind of tell it's her immediately, and she seems to be scavenging some sort of ship.
Yeah, and I think with the ship, if you look at her costume, in the trailer 1, there's her on the speeder bike, and she kind of puts a sort of headgear mask on. So I think it's relating to that directly.
Yeah, and it's also what we noticed as well is a big theme with the character of Rey is the staff that she's sort of got on her person at all time, and she already has it at the start of this. I think that this to me looks like an introduction for the character. And it's interesting now that we've seen this and we've had all the other stuff that's come out before it, we can start putting the pieces together now so that we know that this is definitely a follow-up shot to, as you just said, like what we've seen on the speeder bike. And like when you actually see the interior of that Star Destroyer, it looks absolutely incredible. You can tell, and this is a thing I've noticed all the way through it, definitely you can tell that this is a new director and team working on this. Lot of different shots that you probably wouldn't have got in the prequels or even the original trilogy, like how everything's framed and lit. You can tell it's definitely a different film, but yet everything seems so familiar and it fits just right into the world of Star Wars that we already know.
And then straight after that, you look at everything we know, then you've got the desert for a start. She's just kind of strolling through it, and again, it's just like later on, whenever we see desert shots, you can tell their locations, and they just look great. I mean, yeah, they shot the Phantom Menace on location, Tatooine, but there was still, so much CGI and it didn't look as great. Whereas this, I think they made the right choice to go to Qatar or Dubai rather than the traditional Tunisia. It suits the sort of modern life it is of filming.
Yeah, and even though it's still a desert, I think that if they had have gone back to Tunisia, that is literally just so ingrained with the planet of Tatooine and obviously this being the planet of Jakku, they want a sort of difference even though they are both desert planets, and I think that'll hopefully be shown in the film as well.
I feel like for some people who don't actually kind of follow Star Wars really, really closely will probably think, even though people are telling them it's not Tatooine, they will still think it's Tatooine, it's a sand planet. Just like any ice planet, they will think, oh yeah, it's Hoth. No, it isn't.
And I think I'm sort of a perpetrator of that as well, because the first time I saw the trailer, I think everyone probably did before we knew details, we thought that was Tatooine. And even later on in this where we see the snow, I think that, and this has always been one of my big concerns with this, is that we saw what JJ did with Into Darkness, the Star Trek film. Now, I loved that film, but I completely understand people's gripes against it when it does sort of turn into nothing but a rehash of previous material, and I just hope that that's not the case, because we haven't even talked about it, and I don't think we will in this, but the poster that came out, we see something that looks like a Death Star again, and I mean this will be the third time that we've done the whole Death Star thing. So I think what JJ's doing is he's using a lot of sort of visual signifiers and classic imagery from the older trilogy. So if we've got another planet-sized Death Star looking thing, we've got another snow planet, it's all things that audience members can already recall from previous films.
Yeah, I think with the Death Star stuff, though, I know it's really off topic, but when you get the Kylo Ren stuff where he's like, I'm going to finish what you started, I think I said to you or one of my other friends that he's so deluded with the Darth Vader stuff that he's clearly doing this Death Star type thing because Darth Vader did it and failed, which to me is giving me hints that the forest planet we see is Yavin 4, and actually Kylo Ren could be trying to destroy Yavin 4 just like the Empire failed. That's just a massive speculation, but it's these little things where everyone's starting to pull together little gripes of the story now.
Yeah, definitely, and I know we're sort of jumping all around the place here, but with like Yavin 4, that was really the place in the original movie that was sort of like the place for hope, really, wasn't it? That's where they all sort of like joined up at the end for their last meeting and conference before they took on the Death Star. So if in the film they destroy that, I think that leaves the sort of going into episode 8 and into 9 as well in a really cool place, because maybe the villains will win at the end of this film. We don't know.
I mean, villains won at the end of Empire Strikes Back, didn't they? And I don't think they would do it first film, maybe. I feel like there may... I mean, from later things that we saw in the trailer, we may see some characters, major characters, die. But I don't think that they would go and kill off, like a planet that is so useful to, like, the Resistance right now. Like, they would maybe do it at the start or maybe the end of the second film.
Maybe, but the way I've seen it is it's touch or feeling that now that the Resistance are the power of the galaxy, just like the Empire are, this could be the first small victory for the First Order, if you know what I mean. But, you know, it's anything. I mean, nothing might not get blown up, it might not even be Yavin 4, we don't know, but it's just kind of awesome that we're now getting to a stage where the marketing's been handled so well. There's nothing been spoiled. You can put bits and bobs together, but we actually don't know what is going to happen in this film plot-wise. It's just moving on to it now, and it's just great that they've kept it so quiet.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, like, even us now, this is complete speculation of what we think is going to happen. Nothing's been officially confirmed or anything like that. This is just from what we're gathering from the images we've seen in the trailers and the clips that have come out before, but as you said, like, JJ, we know that JJ does a good job of keeping everything shrouded in secrecy, like he did with Star Trek Into Darkness, although that was sort of to a lesser extent because everyone knew what the twist was going to be in that film. But even when he worked on stuff like Lost as well, and I still think that even with this trailer, it showed you a lot of stuff, but I'm still going to be going into this film completely not knowing the overall plot or what's going to happen with the characters, and I love when trailers do that, because trailers nowadays, I mean, you look at stuff like Amazing Spider-Man or Avengers 2, you've essentially seen the entire movie before you've even got in the theatre. And then if we move on to some more of the clips that we've seen in the trailer as well, we get the same shot again of that sort of panning shot across the entire army of stormtroopers with someone giving a speech or something on a podium at the front. We can't really make out who that is. We don't know if it's General Hux, if it's Supreme Leader Snoke, who's Andy Serkis's character in it, or maybe it's a character we haven't seen yet. We don't know. We can make out that Captain Phasma, the Chrome Trooper's up there on the stage, but it's still quite a far away shot, and we don't really know yet. And then, as like Daisy Ridley kicks off the trailer, and we think that she's probably going to be the main character of this, and on the poster as well, she's sort of the main focus. But the next big character we get introduced to is John Boyega's character of Finn. And we get more of those shots, what looks like an attack on a sort of base, like a Star Destroyer maybe, with all the TIE fighters. We've seen it in the previous trailer. And Tate, you brought this up, and I didn't notice this the first time, but when he takes off the helmet, you see, a blood smear. So if you want to talk a bit about that, because I completely missed that on the first few viewings.
I think it was the first thing that I majorly noticed about like that whole scene of him taking off the helmet. I mean, if you actually pause it, you can see that it is a handprint which is smeared down his face, and from the knowledge of where we think this scene might take place, on a ship carrying all the different stormtroopers, maybe something goes really wrong. One of the stormtroopers dies, is bleeding out, smears across his hand, and that's maybe the point where he goes, okay, I'm not signing up for this, I'm out. That's my thought.
We definitely know he defects at some point, and that brings us on to the next shot as well, where you see his TIE fighter crash into Jakku, and then in the very original teaser, that'll be the bit where he sort of jumps up from the camera after he's crash landed there. But I think it's interesting to see what are the reasons going to be for why he defects. George, you had a theory as to why you think he would sort of break away from the First Order. If you want to go into that a bit.
Yeah, I've kind of clued up. I've really been looking at all three trailers today and cluing them all up, getting them in order and stuff. And I've got this feeling that on that opening shot of the opening scene where the stormtroopers are in that little pod, we see him in this one walking out, and they're in the sort of stormy, flashing weather. Then in this, we get the Knights of Ren later on, and they're also in that similar flashing, maybe lightning rain area. And by the Knights of Ren are tons of dead bodies, and I believe it's also linked to this, where you've got the sort of fire not fight a planet, but they're doing a raid, and Phasma's there, Kylo Ren's there. They've clearly been killing people, and I think that John Boyega, or sorry, Finn, is going to witness his first, like, nasty first order sort of thing, and I think he wants to defect. I my individual belief is that he will find out about Starkiller destroying planets, the base, and maybe something to do with Poe Dameron, I don't know, but I think he's going to defect. But my gist is that Phasma's going to have something heavily involved with him in this change, because I think they've got to build her up, and they kept her quiet on this trailer.
What I've seen, I think that we can all agree that Phasma's going to be this generation's Boba Fett. And from what I can gather from the trailer, mostly the other one, because I think we only see her in one shot in this. I think she's going to sort of be the hitman that's sent out to bring him back or to capture him.
To be honest, they picked a badass character. I mean, Gwendolyn Christie playing.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
she
yeah.
can take down the Hound. I mean, she could probably hunt down.
And then, did anyone see that video from Game of Thrones where they put lightsabers over that fight? That was incredible. That was sort of like the precursor to this. But yeah, and from the trailer too as well, where we see that TIE fighter sort of shooting into the hangar with all the other stormtroopers. Do we think that that's going to be Finn getting into a TIE fighter and sort of shooting his way out before he gets clipped or shot down onto the planet?
I think so. I think that he's going to be fighting his way out, and they're just going to catch him, which we see it start spinning off. The only bit I'm not kind of questioning, but it's just a bit of a coincidence is by Jakku. I mean, not in that sort of minor sense, but in the sort of first film, they just so happened to be outside Tatooine. I think he's going to go for a similar trait because, in all honesty, the film's kind of coincide of everyone meeting everyone, and I have a feeling this is how it's going to happen. Obviously, we've then got Rey, who will clearly see the TIE fighter crashing and go and help him. There's going to be other stuff. I mean, they're still keeping it quiet how she gets a hold of BB-8.
I feel like maybe she doesn't want to go and help him, but scavenge it. I mean, she is a scavenger, so that's maybe a good point. How she gets into it.
Yeah, it's just a good point because I haven't thought of that yet.
And we also haven't thought about BB-8 as well, because that image that was released with, I think we've learnt the character's name now, Constable Zuvio, I think his name is, and she's sort of taking BB-8 out of a net or putting him into a net. Is that where she meets up with him, and that's where we see that shot walking across the desert with BB-8, or does that come before? We don't know. But I think there's still a lot up in the air with Rey. But with that whole Finn, busting out and crashing on the planet, I personally think that that's going to be our opening scene of the movie after the crawl. I just think that you have to start off with an action scene to get the audience's attention straight after the crawl. Every single opening shot in Star Wars after the crawl takes place in space once the camera pans down, and I think that would be a pretty good jumping off point. It would get us an introduction to Finn and then take us to the planet of Jakku, where we could then be introduced to Rey. I think that's how it's going to go down, but obviously we don't know yet. And then some interesting stuff with Kylo Ren happens. We hear his voice, and this really quite awesome zoom in shot with this big red glow outside the windows he's looking at. It's a really good introduction. But as I was saying before we hit record, it's the classic lens flare again from J.J. Abrams, which we all knew we were going to get at some point.
In your lens flare.
Throughout the whole film, I don't think it's as abusive as the first Star Trek film was, but it's still noticeable there, isn't it?
Well, I think he's put it there because obviously it's lens flare. But if you look at it, you see these kind of rocket-like things travelling across. But then later on in the trailer, obviously it's bright red, these sort of rocket gun things. We get later on in the trailer this sort of explosion, and it's red, and it fills it and sort of destroys this world. So I reckon it could be testing grounds for the new Death Star Starkiller base thing. So I think it's all linked, but yeah, he's nicked the lens flare in there, but we haven't really seen too much of it so far, actually, in these trailers.
Yeah, and the planet destruction as well. It's a really quick shot in the trailer, but it looks like a sort of forest area, and this big red blast goes across it all. At first, when I was watching it, because I completely forgot about the whole new Death Star thing again, I didn't know whether this would be some kind of flashback to Alderaan or anything like that, but when you think about the timeline of Star Wars, that was way back during the course of the fourth film technically in the series, so I don't think it'd go back to that point. So I think it is going to be sort of another technological terror that they've got to take down at some point, which I've already said this, but I don't really want. I think that the franchise should move on from familiar stuff. But if they do it in a new way and sort of introduce it in gently, then I think I could, get behind it. And then we get some more shots of the TIE fighter pursuing the Falcon, which we'd seen before, and this is where the music for me really kicked in the trailer. We get sort of reprise of the Leia and Han theme from the original trilogy, but it's sort of, well, all the music in this as well, even the Force theme, it's reworked and it just sounds so epic, and that's got me wondering if this is actually music we'll hear in the film, if John Williams has somehow modernised the classic themes to make them more epic, because we see the battle scenes in this and we definitely know we're going to be in for an epic war film.
Oh yeah, I mean, what was exciting when these first clips, I love the space fights, and it's brilliant that we haven't seen anything in space. There will be stuff in space. Seeing it on the sort of atmosphere is brilliant, and I just love the sort of cinematic shots they're using, because as great it is in the 70s and 80s, you can't have a tracking shot of it going like up and down, around, zoom in, similar to what it did with Star Trek. So I think on these sort of flying sequences, we're going to see some really good stuff we've never seen. There's a little hint of it in episode 3, but only in that opening shot. But I think we're going to be blown away at how great it is, and it looks like they're using models. They're just animating around it. We know they're using models because they've said it, but it just looks awesome, and just seeing that X-Men take out the TIE fighter was quality for me.
Yeah, definitely, and but personally, I didn't really see much of that model thing in this. I know that we get some practical like environments and everything like that, but to me, this was definitely the most CGI heavy out of the trailers. And I'm not saying that technically is a bad thing, because I always bang on about this on every single video we do. I think the effects totally work, but I never got a sense of that whole model thing from like the dogfights in this or anything like that. Even there's a shot later on we'll get to where we see this big red robot walking past them, and I didn't think the effects on that particular robot were that great, and it looked like something to me you could have done with like a practical model walking past them. I'm not bashing on the CGI at all, because I know its place, and I know that of course this film in this age needed some kind of effects, but I didn't see personally that whole model thing being used all that much in this trailer.
Maybe I think the robot looks real. To be fair, I think that was seen in the set video as well. They announced at Comic-Con.
That robot reminded me way too much of the robots from Phantom Menace. I'm not sure what it was about it, but it looked like Peabody from Portal, and it really reminded me of the robots with the guns in. My Star Wars trivia isn't good enough to say what the name of the robots are, but it gave me a quick flashback, and I was thinking, please, no.
I was thinking this was going to be J.J. Abrams' bad robot finally in the movie.
Maybe.
For his production company. But one thing I did want to talk about, it's kind of a cool new force power we see. Tate, I don't know if what your take on this was, but we sort of see Kylo Ren force torturing Poe in one bit, and sort of like an interrogation scene maybe. I thought that scene was one of the big key scenes that sort of stood out to me in the trailer. If you want to talk a bit about that, what your thoughts were on that.
I'm looking at a freeze frame of it now, and he's got blood all around his eyes, he's sweating, and he's got perfect teeth. Which is something that I randomly noticed, but he looks like in a lot of stress. You can tell that it's Kylo Ren who's doing the torturing. I don't know what to think of it. Maybe he gets captured, tortured for information. I mean, I know that you guys have been saying, does he actually give up the information? But to be honest, I reckon he probably doesn't, and he gets broken out by John Boyega.
Well, at the Comic-Con behind-the-scenes footage, we see a shot of a stormtrooper sort of escorting him to a jail cell. So I don't know exactly when this is going to take place in the movie, but we know that at some point he'll get captured.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've seen it, when this first came on, it was there like, it's a new force power. I've been wondering, are they going to do anything? And it's not really the best name, but it just kind of looks like some kind of force rape, where he's just gonna like sort of terrorize him like from
force
the brain.
Torture, maybe.
Yeah, like he could be like messing with his brain. You know what I mean? Like squishing bits around. But what this proves is that we know Kylo Ren's got a lightsaber at this point, but this just confirms that he has got force powers, and that if he's going to be torturing one of the main three, because not even Vader does it to Leia in the first film in A New Hope. In this, he's clearly going for it, and we haven't seen that before off a villain.
I feel like maybe this might happen towards the very, very start of the film, or it could be the ending of the film. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? Like, he knows where maybe John Boyega and Daisy Ridley's characters have got away to. Maybe they've escaped somehow. he gets captured and he's being tortured to find out where they are to set up the following films.
That's a good point, actually. I think that would be quite a cool place to leave it. I think our last shot, and we'll get onto this in a bit, is going to be probably Luke, because he was noticeably mostly absent from this trailer. We just see that shot that they keep using with what looks like his robot hand resting on R2-D2.
That's the only footage they have of him.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because I think they'll probably save him mostly for episode 8 and 9. But and then it's around about this point in the trailer where we get reintroduced to Han again. It was great seeing him at the very end of the second trailer. We get a bit more of him in this one. We see Daisy and Finn sort of with Han standing around this room with this neon map effect, which really reminded me of the map sequence from Prometheus. You get lots of sort of floating
That's the only scene
blue
from
planets
Prometheus that we liked.
Yeah, and you know that scene's going to look equally as incredible in the 3D in this as well that it did in Prometheus, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, Han sort of has this monologue in the film where he says that it's all real, the Jedi, the dark side, everything, and that's when you go back to episode 4 A New Hope and you get introduced to Han and he doesn't believe in hokey religions and that nothing can match a good blaster at your side, it's a real awesome continuation and development of the character, I think, and when you eventually watch all these films back to back, I think that'll be cool. And I'm sure they'll, and they're doing it now, like filling in the 30-year time gap with comics and novels and everything like that, but it was sort of neat to see Han finally accepting the Force, basically.
And I think with Han coming back, we all kind of thought that he'd be there or thereabouts. Everyone thought it's going to be harder to get Harrison Ford back than anyone else. And then from this trailer, we're seeing more of him and Chewbacca than... Obviously, there's a shot of Leia, but again, no Luke. And we're seeing a lot of Han, and he's there travelling with them. He's clearly going to be in the Falcon in that big dogfight. So I think he's going to have a bigger role than it was expected of him, which is awesome because, they've got Lawrence Kasdan, who by far knew the character better than anyone. That's why he's writing the origin film. So I think he's going to be great for it.
Yeah, and like with the Falcon as well, we get a sort of updated shot of the hyperspace sequence, and I just want to say as well that seeing that hyperspace screen again, like in this trailer, is absolutely incredible. It's one of my favourite moments seeing that in Star Wars.
No, I am worried about this. I am very worried because it looks like the Doctor Who theme.
That's what.
Yeah.
And that worries me because it does, like, the old hyperspace was brilliant. That's all you needed. The ship zooming off into the background from the back. Perfect. Done. That would have been perfect nostalgia for all the fans who loved it. That would have been perfect for getting people new into it because it still looked like an amazing effect. It looks like it's catering too much to the new generation way too hard.
And it's in Star Trek.
It looks like
Darkness.
a time warp. Not gonna lie.
Is it the second Star Trek film he did? They're having a fight in hyperspace.
Yeah.
And it looked really bizarre, but because when the lights came back, I was like, "Oh, here we go again!" And then it was really cool, but really bizarre the way they did it. I hope they don't do too much of it because I just love the traditional blue lights pulled back.
I know, but what makes me really worried is the fact that they cut away to the whole "this Christmas," but that isn't the end of that whole scene. The ship goes past slightly, but they wouldn't end it with the ship going past slightly. They're going to have to continue it on.
Yeah.
And I can see a continuation of that scene. I feel like they just cut to this Christmas because they didn't want to focus too much on it.
I don't think we'll get an action scene in it, to be honest. I think if we would be, I think they would have shown a lot more of that in the trailer because that would be, vastly different to anything we've seen. I don't know, it didn't bother me as much, I don't think, but I completely agree with what you're saying because with the older Star Wars, you really didn't need to see outside of the warp. You just needed to see the stars go blurry and blasting off into the distance. So I agree with that. And now you're saying Doctor Who, it definitely did remind me of that. But
what about, let's think of where it's actually going from and where it's going to.
I think they're going to Yavin. I think Han Solo's going to take them to where they're clearly military bases, and I think from there on, I think he might know who Maz Kanata is, who's clearly doing the voiceover. I think it's all connected that Solo knows everything. I think Leia will be telling him where to go as well, so the whole thing is connected to Solo, I think, and he's going to be so important to this film.
Have we counted the amount of planets that we found on this trailer?
3.
3. You reckon there's 3? Because I reckon there
4, sorry. 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
The First Order raid on that the sort of night thing. I think that's going to be their opening, showing how evil they are. I'm seeing 3 main planets for each act of the film. I think we've got desert for Act 1, the trees for Act 2, and I think we've got the Hoth for Act 3, and I think that's how it's going to go.
And do we actually think that that will be a return to Hoth, or do you think that will be Starkiller planet surrounded by snow, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's going to be Starkiller.
Yeah.
I'm just saying Hoth because it's cold in Star Wars, but I think we can't, it's just 3 planets, 1 for each act of the film, because the only bits of Starkiller was showing is the start of the lightsaber fight and the sort of air raid that's happening. So I think there's a lot more going on to that, and obviously they're not going to reveal anything, and fair play to them. Because the one thing I'd say now, it's totally unrelated, but the Batman v Superman trailer, I liked it, but they showed a good minute of the Batman v Superman fight. You shouldn't be showing the bit people are paying to watch, you should build it up, and that's exactly what they're doing in this trailer.
Well, you know that fight in that movie is going to go on for like 50 minutes or something because Zack Snyder's directed it. But I think that 3 planets will be enough, and I agree with you. I think it'll be Yavin. I think what will happen is you'll have that action scene with Finn, Rey, and BB-8 escaping. They'll run into Han Solo. You'll have that action beat which we've seen in the previous trailer of the TIE fighters chasing the Falcon, and then I think it will be immediately after that it will get into space and then take off, and that will be going into the second act of the movie. But you were talking about the raid as well, and later on in the film, I don't know if this is part of it, this might be something different, but we get our glimpse of the Knights of Ren. I feel really late to the party on this one because I had literally never heard of anything of the Knights of Ren, any sort of details that had come out about Kylo Ren's history or his motive or what's going on. I sort of didn't want to read because I wanted to be surprised, but everyone seems to already know who these guys are, so if you two want to go into a bit more detail on this one.
Tayten, do you want it?
No.
Alright, right. So in the Empire magazine that came out last month, they had 2 pages on Star Wars, and there was no new information because EW beat them to it by a week. However, they went on to say that Kylo Ren is a part of a group of people called the Knights of Ren. That was all they said. To me, that signalled that Ren's not his surname. I still believe that he is of a Solo/Skywalker backstory. Mm-hmm. But it's when they were kind of there together, you kind of got a sense that, okay, these are the Knights of Ren they've been speaking about. They might not be. I mean, the Knights of Ren could be anything, but when you've got this squad in rain, in lightning, surrounded by about 30 dead bodies on the floor, I think these are the bad boys.
Do we think, though, that this... Because there are quite a few of them, aren't there, that surround him, and I don't think any of them have got lightsabers. I think they're all blasters and rifles and things like that. Do we think that it's going to be a bit overkill how many villains we've got in this film? I mean, we'll have Kylo Ren, probably Supreme Leader Snoke will be in the background more for this film, but you've got Phasma as well, and then do you think if we've got like 6 to 10 other guys, it's going to get a bit too much?
No, because this is going to be like a squad that will just go out and kill random people. They'll be like the front guards. They'll be like his personal stormtroopers, basically.
Right.
That's how I think it's going to happen.
A bit like how the way I've seen it is that in when the snow speeders go down, it's like is it like Red Leader in the little squadron? I just think we're going to get a little bit more detail. I think the same with Poe Dameron. He's got his own squad from what I've heard. So I think it's actually going to be that Ren's got his personal lot, and I think it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, one of them looks like he's in Mandalorian armor, so it could have a bit of a bounty hunter vibe. But if we're going to have this kind of hit squad, then that opening raid is going to show us how dangerous they really are, I think.
I've only just noticed this in the background as well, but one of them is wearing a cloak on his head, like wearing a full-on cloak on his head. So maybe different people from different races. Maybe?
Yeah, and we've seen that the new stuff are definitely pushing for, other races and other genders in this film to be used more prominently, so, that wouldn't surprise me if they do that. And also, George, you just saying about that Poe's got his own crew as well. Do we think that that's going to filter into the final act? If one of these, whether it's the raid on Yavin 4 or whether it's going to be the one over the Hoth-looking planet, do you think it will be the Knights of Ren in fighters going against Poe and his band of fighters as well?
They could do, I think. Well, what we've seen on the new TIE fighters is your normal design, and then you've got this red slap across them, which are the Special Forces TIE fighter. So I could see 1 or 2 of them being piloted by villains, but I think the Knights of Ren are literally going to be like this almost band of brothers that we just look at how awesome they are. the one thing I'm looking forward to about Poe Dameron, I mean, he said at Star Wars Celebration, he's the best pilot, and he's clearly headlining this crew. There's this shot of the stormtroopers all like hidden behind the sort of destroyed building, but then in the distance you can see about 10 X-wings, and behind them is this tsunami. And looking at it now, I've just got the shot on. It looks like it's going to put that Lord of the Rings a bit to shame with the water horses, and I've got a feeling that the X-wings, I think Poe might steal this from what I've been seeing of him so far. We don't know a lot about him, and that's going to play into his favour. He could be the Han Solo of the new three.
And I think we can all agree that that definitely looks like Yavin 4, and we basically see it raised to the ground where the stormtroopers are all posted up around the rubble. From that bit you just see when they see that almost tidal wave looking, power coming from the X-wings, and then we also see Finn, I think Rey's with him, and Han approaching Yavin 4, but it looks like it's got all weird sort of like coloured banners and sort of coat of arms, and that's where we see that red robot walking past them. And I don't know if it was you, Tate, or whether it was both of you. You said that you saw the was it the Mandalorian logo on one of them?
Yeah, in the middle flag, right at the top, placed there on purpose. There's the Mandalore logo that can be seen. And Tayten has noticed the Illuminati though, which is far more interesting.
There is an Illuminati logo in there somewhere if you guys want to find it.
It's just
I
brilliant.
won't tell you where.
It's white. I mean, there's all these colours. Then you just see this white triangle with a black eye in the middle.
It's scary.
I think it's pretty cool that they are throwing those little Easter eggs in there and stuff, because now Star Wars is owned by Marvel, and Marvel do a great job of this as well with their films, where they'll drop like a name in somewhere that only the true hardcore comic fans will get. So I think like this, I don't think this any attention will be brought to this. I think it will just be a blink and you'll miss it sort of thing. But for the eagle-eyed Star Wars fans, they'll point out that it's a Mandalorian logo, and there's probably going to be loads of other logos as well that link to other planets and things like that. And then I'm just sort of looking through other shots. We get a shot of Finn, Chewie, and Han looking like they're about to surrender, but then someone will probably come to the rescue. And I don't know if this is just me. Does anyone else think that the Chewbacca costume looks really weird in this film? Like it just, I don't. It doesn't look as sort of realistic as the ones did in the original trilogy. It looks a bit more. I don't know. It looks a bit more sleek and modern, really.
It's fine. He's got a new haircut.
I'll tell you what. He looks younger. He looks younger. He looks like a young Chewie, like in his 20s or something. It doesn't look like that.
He's had plastic
maybe it's
surgery.
just me.
We'll just leave it at that.
Well, he's gone from like a dirty little rebel, literally, to now he's probably like filthy rich, part of the New Republic. He's probably got his own like apartment and like servants on demand with drinks. He probably lives the highest life there is.
He lives in the top floor of the biggest building.
In Coruscant, you could just picture it, can't you?
Welcome to the Chewie bachelor pad, yo.
Hopefully he's got his medal this time that he didn't get at the end of New Hope, because everyone was just, racist at that time. But I also want that on a shirt as well, just a picture of Chewbacca, dirty little rebel. I'd love that.
I have to say, the shot before that is my favourite shot from the trailer, with Daisy Ridley's character crying over what we think is a corpse.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely talk about this now, because I think this is going to be sort of been rumoured for a long time that not everyone's going to make it through this film, and I think we can all probably guess that one of the big players from the original trilogy is probably not going to make it through to the end of this film. I've got my theories, but personally I think it's going to be Han Solo. I don't know whether... And obviously this isn't spoilers, this is all speculation at this point, but I think that it might turn out that Rey is the daughter of Han Solo and Leia, and she'll sort of come to terms with that and learn that that's her father, and then at the end he won't make it out of it, because we see that shot as well from the Comic-Con behind the scenes where she sort of sits down at the co-pilot's chair, and I think that would be pretty cool if it turns out that that's her dad and they sort of shared the Millennium Falcon console together.
It is a snow planet, so it could be John Boyega. I'm just going to say, with it being the old players, the only way I could see it is she doesn't know them long enough. I mean, we all kind of laughed that Luke's depressed, but he only knew Ben Kenobi for 6 hours. I've got a feeling that if Solo was to go in the forest with Ren, I don't think this will happen. But the only thing tearing enough for her to cry, I think,
would be Han Solo dying, but revealing that he's her father in ultimate Star Wars fashion. But I don't know. I also think it could be a minor character from another scene. I've really got no idea of how it's going to go, but it's just I don't think they'd spoil something so important in a trailer.
It's a snow planet, and I don't understand, because we all think that the snow planet is going to be the ending of the film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this may be the final scene.
I think this will be amongst the final scene. Yeah, I don't know whether this is sort of going to go on as we get the sweet lightsaber duel between Kylo Ren, an unmasked Kylo Ren and Finn. To me, that just seems like a logical place to have the climax of the film. I don't know whether Poe's going to be involved on this planet. Maybe he'll be in the clouds in the dogfight that we see throughout the trailer.
Maybe he's the one who's dead.
Maybe. Plus, see, I don't think
not.
I
No,
don't
he
think
said
they're
he's
going to
back.
kill.
I've spoiled it. Sorry.
Did he?
He said he's back for episode 8, but then again, he could be lying. But I really don't want Poe Dameron to die. We haven't seen enough of him.
Honestly, I don't think they're going to kill any of the new ones that are introduced, because these are essentially going to be our main three. This is going to be this generation's Luke, Han and Leia. I don't think they're going to get rid of anyone that they've just brought into the fold, because they want to make it into a trilogy and go beyond that and everything like that. I think if they are going to get rid of anyone, it's going to be the original cast. And I don't know. We know that Han Solo agreed to this, so maybe there's some rumours that he only agreed to this if his character could be killed off. We knew he wanted to be killed off in Empire. They didn't allow it. Wanted him to die in Return of the Jedi. They wouldn't allow it. So maybe this time they finally want to give him the send-off that he's always wanted. Yeah, and it's going to. I mean, I've seen some reviews earlier that was saying that they see the Falcon in a big explosion in the trailer, and I really don't want that to happen with the captain going down with his ship, because that will be heartbreaking if Han and also the Falcon, who's a character even in of itself, don't make it through the end of this film. That will be a real shame.
Yeah, carry on.
No, I was just seeing what else we got to talk about. Leia was in the trailer. We get a shot of her hugging Han, so that sort of hopefully put aside my problems, because a lot of people were saying they didn't think that Leia and Han were going to start off this film still together. They were going to be, apart, and then throughout the course of the film they might get back together. That still may be the case, but I don't know. I want them to have a happy ending. I want them to have been together all the way through Return of the Jedi for the 30 years.
I think they were together for a bit, and they've had twins. So one of them's been dumped, and the other one's turned into an evil Sith Lord. That's my personal guess.
Yeah, and that follows not. It picks up on the same themes as some of the EU, doesn't it? I mean, I know the whole Solo twins. I talked about this in my reaction video. I don't know if I'm 100% right, but I know that they had twins, and I think one did turn to the dark side and one was light side. And even on the poster as well, we see that Kylo Ren and Rey are the big sort of main focus where your eye goes to on the poster, and how the lightsaber and the staff are positioned. It almost looks like they're mirror images of each other. So I think that definitely could be a theme that plays into it. Just sort of looking for anything else we could talk about. The voiceover. We've mentioned it briefly throughout, but I'd like to sort of hit on it a bit more, because I was listening to it, and I think my friend who was watching it with me at the time thought it was Leia talking, but I knew immediately it wasn't her. I think this is going to be Lupita Nyong'o's character, but when she's saying let the Force let it in, or so I was going to say let it go then. Do we think she could be talking to Leia? Because we know that Lupita Nyong'o's playing a motion-captured alien character, and in trailer 2 we see what looks like an alien hand holding up, I think it's Luke's lightsaber. It looks like to Leia. So I'm wondering if this alien character is going to be saying to Leia, you need to learn the ways of the Force, because we've already seen from Empire and a little bit in Jedi that she is a Force-sensitive character.
Yeah, I personally think this is them speaking to Rey more than Leia. My gist of Leia is that she's got the Force, but she doesn't really care and doesn't want to use it. And I've got a feeling that Luke would have put her off doing it. I personally think this is Rey, in that at the start she goes, "I'm no one" or something like that. I think she's going to get the sort of convincing speech, i.e. Obi-Wan telling Luke about his dad and what he basically will be. I think Rey's going to get something similar, and because obviously she's just a scavenger, she's not going to really accept it, and I think it'll be something like that. But I think the way they've phrased it is more or less helping the trailer of let it in, and obviously it's the Force Awakens, so there's a bit there, but I think the whole of the voiceovers from the Maz Kanata temple scene.
Yeah, same here. And there's a lot to take in this trailer. I think we've more or less said everything we can about it. Before we close out, I would like to just sort of end it of, well, I think we all enjoyed the trailer anyway, so we don't need to say whether we did or not.
Can I
but
quickly
if any of you...
point something out on the poster, in fact?
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
have a look at it now. Characters who we haven't actually seen yet who were on the poster who wasn't in any of the trailers so far. We got C-3PO, who's actually on the centre of the poster. And we've also got some weird alien-looking thing sat next to R2-D2.
I thought that was Constable Zuvio, I think, who's that little scavenger character. I might be wrong, that might be Lupita Nyong'o, but to me that looks like... Because the toy's already been released, the Black Series toy of Constable Zuvio, and that looked like him to me. I don't know if I'm right about that.
I think in the EW picture, on the one with BB-8 on the rope, I don't think that was Constable Zuvio, because Zuvio's got this really bizarre head shape. Whereas in the picture of the ropes, it looks like this little thing on top of a rhino. And I just think it could be someone helping Rey on her journey, someone she knows. It could be Zuvio for all I know, but I just think it's going to be this minor character we see for 10-15 minutes.
And to be honest, I can't also believe we haven't even talked about the end scene of the credits, with the end scene of the trailer with the whole lightsaber battle in the snowy forest.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that quickly then if you want. We see that Kylo Ren is unmasked, so I think that this is probably going to point to some kind of big revelation which will lead to the duel. And, Tate, you were saying before, the look on Finn's face when Kylo Ren's coming up to him, squaring off with him for the lightsaber fight, it's absolutely brilliant.
He looks like he's about to lose. That is the face of a person who knows they have lost.
But what's brilliant is that when he strikes up the lightsaber, he's got this look of pure determination on his face, and we saw that in that 15-second, was it an Instagram trailer that came out?
Well, yeah, because, remember I kind of mentioned that I think, what's her name? Oh, Christ, I've forgotten her name. Phasma, I think, because Phasma's after him, I think he might have been further up in the Stormtrooper hierarchy than we think. I mean, age-wise, I don't think there's too many years between Adam Driver and John Boyega, maybe 3 or 4, but for all we know, those lot could have known each other pre-Episode 7. There's nothing, but I think it's the face of, I've just took a lightsaber out against a guy that's probably been training with it for a fair few years. I think that enter Luke Skywalker, he will save the day, prompting Episode 8, maybe some training there or abouts, I don't know, but on the first trailer we always forgot that Snoke says there's been an awakening on, the dark side and the light, and by the light, there's Rey, but I think we're going to see Luke, who's clearly in hiding.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that'll be a cool sort of thematic reveal where we get our reveal of Andy Serkis, who's going to be sort of the new Emperor throughout this, and then we'll get the mirror of that with the light side, and we'll see Luke, and that'll be the end. But as we said, this is all speculation. We won't know until a couple of months. I've got my tickets booked for the midnight screening.
Same.
Absolutely cannot wait for that. I know that, George, you were telling me...
I'm on 3 now. I'm on 3.
You're going to 3. I'm confirmed for 2 as of a couple of hours ago.
3D midnight at the local, the biggest screen they've got. Opening night family. The Sunday, I've got some mates coming back from uni who want to IMAX it. I'm assuming that I'll be fitting in 2 showings of other sets of people. I've had so many people I know messaging me about the film that they want to go watch it, so I'm preparing my wallet. I think that's the right term.
Even if this film is good, I'm not going to fall into the Phantom Menace trap. I've booked in 1, which is the midnight showing, and if it is good enough, then I will go see it again. I hope it is.
Yeah.
That's
think, fair enough.
I think for me, because I don't care about Christmas, I think it's literally going to be like, I'm bored today.
Yeah.
No, because you've got good films coming out the week after. You've got the new Tarantino film. You've got
that's not until
America,
January, though, isn't it?
We've got to wait 2 weeks. I mean,
oh yeah, Christ, we do.
I get paid.
Yeah, sure, why not Star Wars for a couple of weeks?
Exactly, but I've got Meerkat movies, buy one get one free.
You've got a Krampus coming out though.
And is it Peabody or something like that?
Yeah.
But if it's good, I mean, if it's crap, I'll only see it the 4 or 5 times. But I think I'm going to fall into Phantom Menace territory where I have to see it so many times to convince myself that it's not bad. Like Amazing Spider-Man 2, I wanted to love it. First time I saw it, I was like, I don't know if this is the worst thing I've ever seen or the best thing I've ever seen. And then I saw it again, and I was like, yeah, precisely, this is the worst thing.
Yeah. No, I think I'm going to be the victim of that as well. Even if it's just meh, I'll probably try and convince myself that it was the best thing I've seen all year and just keep going again and again.
I don't know. It's got to deal with Mad Max at the moment.
Oh Christ, I saw that again the other day. I think it's the sixth
Still,
time this
still
year.
holds up.
I love it. But the thing is, the
great.
reason I'm praying this is amazing is because not only am I going to see it at the cinema many times, I've worked out I've spent over £400 on merchandise so far.
Jesus Christ.
I've got
Dude,
BB.
that's an addiction.
I've got BB-8. I'm looking at them now in the cabinet. There's BB-8 130, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 Black Series for episode 7. Disney Infinity Pack's going to come out after the film. I've already got a pre-order on the soundtrack and the art of the film. My wallet's feeling it, but I've cut down on football for a few months, but that's because of Star Wars.
You are personally funding all of Disney right now.
I don't mind.
Just you.
And Battlefront, don't forget Battlefront. I'm not buying the season pass yet, but I will buy it.
I'm going to wait till a complete version of that game comes out before I buy it, because I think that what they're turning out is an unfinished product to begin with. But that's a whole other review anyway. Before we close out, do any of you have a particular favourite scene from this trailer that really stood out to you, that's got you hyped more than anything to see this movie in December?
Who's
Yes.
gonna die?
So you're going for the Ray Crine scene, yeah? George, how about you?
I have the X-wing kamikaze water attack, but also the stormtrooper casually chilling for an X-wing to just shoot him, and I'm there like that is accuracy. That is me on Battlefront. You sir are a good man. But I don't know why that's my favourite shot. It shouldn't be, but it just was. I was just there like, this is the shit I've been looking for.
See, for me, it was just everything with Kylo Ren. This isn't a new shot. This was in some of the other trailer, but my favourite shot is that sweet zoom in as he does that force push towards the cameras. He's got his lightsaber ignited. I think that's just a beautiful shot. But if we're going with a new shot, it would probably be, seeing more of a clip of that lightsaber fight, because I'm a sucker for a good lightsaber fight, and by the looks of it, it looks like it's taking it back to basics with the more sort of sword duel mechanics of the fight like the original trilogy. So that really got me hyped for it. I think I'm trying to think back to my reaction now. I think that was the moment where I sort of screamed out the most. That was that scene. But yeah, a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. I don't know if we're going to get any other clips that come out after this. I think this is pretty much it now. We haven't got all that long to wait. We've got Bond coming out on Monday, I think, next week, and then Hunger Games November, and then this, we bring out the big guns with this in December. So that was our discussion. Be sure to rate, like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think of the new Star Wars trailer. You can follow us at Facebook at facebook.com/cinemasavvy. We're on Twitter at cinema_savvy, and we're also on letterboxd.com at cinema_savvy as well, where you can find a list of all the films we reviewed in the past, and it's easy to keep track. But yeah, we're going to close out now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening.